Welcome to a chaotic reading blog. There's no way I can make this any less chaotic than it is. I thought through options. I have none. It's gonna have to just be chaos. During the month of May, I am a co-host slash co-team leader for Escape the Readathon, which was created by Lexi from Books with Lexi. I'm a co-host with Monica over on Snack Squad, and it's not too late to join. If you're watching this, you can still join. Details will be down below so you can check it all out. This is a competition-based readathon where there are different teams and we're all trying to escape this carnival. There's different reading prompts. You don't really know how many books you have to read for a certain prompt. There's different games within these buildings you're unlocking, and then that creates chaos, and everything is just a little bit chaotic. Organized chaos, but chaos nonetheless. Therefore, my reading this month is chaos. My video plans this month are chaos. I really didn't actually make any plans for May, which is kind of crazy because I'm usually months ahead on my YouTube planning, but during the year of 2024, it's just been really flexible in general, especially my reading vlogs. I just kind of do what I feel like doing. I have loose ideas of things I want to try to do, but it's a little bit all over the place this year anyways. All that to say, if I were not to do this way, I don't know what other content you'd really be seeing from me this month. So I'm just gonna kick off a reading vlog here while I'm in the midst of reading for this readathon and tell you about the books I'm reading for the next 3 or 4 or 5-ish books, and that'll be a reading vlog. In the middle of 2 different books. One of those is One of Us Knows by Alyssa Cole. I'm listening to this through my library on audiobook. I'm 65% of the way through. This is the same author as When No One Is Watching. When No One Was Watching, When No One Is Watching, I think is what that one was called. Came out a couple years ago. I enjoyed that one, so I was looking forward to this story. And so far, 65% of the way through my experience with it, I am enjoying it. I'm not loving it. I'm not super invested in it. It's just a good audiobook to have on. It's floating around like a 3.5 star right now. Still plenty of book to go, but that's generally how I'm feeling about it. In this story, you're following a woman named Kenitria Nash, I believe is her name, and she has dissociative identity disorder, so she has a lot of different alters who can come up as the host or who live in her inner world, or a mix of both. The main host that you're following throughout the story is Ken, and Ken has been dormant for 6 years, so Ken does not have an idea of what's been going on in their lives for the past 6 years. And when they come back to host again, they find themselves in the circumstance where they now have this new job where they're going to go out on this island and be a housekeeper. I was just checking the synopsis again. It kind of gives away a lot of information that I haven't necessarily even gotten to yet, 65% of the way in, so I don't want to reveal too much. And there's elements, particularly one element that I think is really interesting that's not in the synopsis at all. So I think the most vague, best way to explain this is Ken finds themselves in this situation where they don't really know what's going on, but they're taking this opportunity on. But also there's an inner mystery of what's going on as well. That's as vague as I can be about it. It's intriguing. It has an interesting premise. It's been handled well so far, at least from what I can tell. And I'm curious to see where it's going to go. I think the author does a good job with distinct personalities as well in these different alters. So they do feel very different. You can distinguish who you're reading from in a given time. I've kind of just been listening to this one as I play Candy Crush, which I've been doing a lot of lately, or if I'm just doing quick things around the house. I'm not sitting down and listening to this one for long periods of time. I'm just kind of like doing little spurts throughout my day. So this one will probably be done in the next 1 to 2 to 3 days, depending on when I get time to sit down and listen to it, and depending on how much Candy Crush I want to play, if I'm being real. The other book I'm in the middle of is Butcher and Blackbird. I am currently 35% of the way through this one. I'm also reading it through my library on my Kindle, and I am surprisingly absolutely loving this. I did not know if this was going to be a hit or a miss for me. It's a dark romantic comedy kind of situation, like a dark romance with a comedy, dark humor feel to it. You're following these two different serial killers who kill serial killers. Like they kill bad people and they end up intersecting each other's lives. They call each other Butcher and Blackbird, hence the title. And they decide to start this competition where once a year they will meet to have a competition to see who can kill the target faster. And between all of that, they're also developing a romance. It is silly. It starts with a really long list of content warnings, and one of those is accidental cannibalism. So like I knew what I was getting myself into with the tone and the vibe of this book just from the very beginning and from hearing people talk about it. I'm not usually one for dark romance or toxic dynamics, but because it's already in such an absurd situation that I'm not placing myself in, like I'm never gonna be in this situation, you know? I can suspend my disbelief a little bit or just like look at it as this alternative world where I'm not expecting a healthy dynamic to be present here. It's just kind of a fun, silly time to be along for. So this is my primary read right now. This is also what's helping fulfill a game prompt that we're working on right now. So I'm gonna keep working my way through this one. I'll keep you updated as I'm reading along, but I'm having a surprisingly really good time with it. I just finished Butcher and Blackbird, and as unpredictable as this would have been for me when I first heard about this book and considered picking it up, I think I'm gonna give it 5 stars. I think I am, because I had a great time. This is a dark romance book. It's silly. It is not to be taken too seriously. And going into it with that mindset, it was exactly what I wanted right now. I just wanted something fun and fast and enjoyable, not too serious. And this was great. It was unexpected. It's unlike really anything I've ever read before. There are so many bizarre, weird things. Like I never knew from one scene to the next what was gonna happen next. I truly didn't. I had no idea what I was getting into as I continued reading, and I like that. I'm not typically a reader of dark romance. I don't gravitate towards that. And when I've read it in the past, sometimes I just don't love it. Like I remember when I read that book Flock that everyone was loving and it just repulsed me. A lot of times there's really toxic dynamics and imbalanced power dynamics, especially in heterosexual dark romance and men, and it icks me out. But I think because this book, they were both serial killers and so clearly like into the same things and the same levels of darkness, it put it in this other universe for me where it worked, and it was just a fun time and I just liked it. I'll say the first half of this book is a lot more like murder centric, them going on their competitions, trying to kill people, building up tension between them that way. The second half of the book is a lot more spicy, but I think it did a good job maintaining plot through the spice so that it wasn't just like, here's a bunch of sex scenes thrown at you now for your own enjoyment. It was like, here's sex scenes, but also like the plot's still happening throughout it. And I liked the note that it ended on and how it's showing how it's going to lead into the second book. This is a trilogy and each book follows a different couple. It sounds like each one's going to follow a different brother, because the main guy in this one, Rowan, he has at least 2 other brothers. Yeah, there's 3 of them because the restaurant's called 3 and Coach. Second book's gonna follow another one of his brothers and his girly pop, and then the third book will follow the other brother and his girly pop. And I think I'm in for the ride. I think I'm there. I'll be picking up the second book. I had a great time. So that was a success. I'm gonna log this book and then I'm going to get back into One of Us Knows by Alyssa Cole. Good morning. I finished One of Us Knows last night before I went to bed, and I simmered on it because I wasn't quite sure how I felt about it, and honestly I still don't really know exactly how I feel about it. One of those books I feel a little more neutral on. Didn't love it, didn't hate it. There's things I liked, there's things I didn't. So I'm giving it a 3-star, putting it right about in the middle. This is a gothic story, and it is a very slow burn gothic story. In the synopsis, it mentions that Kenitria goes to this place and then there's a murder and she's the main suspect. The murder does not occur until 75% in the book. That is how much of a slow burn this is. And then the last 25%, that's when more chaos starts to happen. A lot gets jammed right there in the end. So pacing wise, it wasn't my favorite, but that's a problem I usually have with gothic stories. That's just me and gothic stories, not so much an issue with this particular book, I don't think. In general, I really liked the idea of it, the things it was doing, the way the mysteries were kicked off in the beginning. I was intrigued. I was very intrigued with the direction it was going to go. Certain personalities and characters I liked a lot. And it did keep me engaged throughout the story. I do think my experience would have been different had I been reading physically. With slower paced books, I definitely prefer the audio experience because I'm less conscious of how far in the book I am. I didn't even realize I was as far as I was when the murder happened. And then I checked and I was like, oh my God, it's like, I think it was like 71% maybe. And then I was like, yikes, this has been really slow. What's gonna happen in the rest? But if I had been physically holding the book, I probably would have acknowledged how slow it was sooner. Anyways, all that to say, thought it was okay. I think I gave When No One Is Watching a 3.5 star-ish rating when I read that one. So I guess I feel pretty similarly to how I did with that one. Not a book that I'm gonna say, go run and pick it up, but it does have a unique concept. So if it's something you're interested in, give it a try. A lot of things have also happened since last night, a lot of progress we've made in the readathon. So I was going to pick up Little Eve by Katrina Ward next to keep working on the prompts we were working on. I really was not excited about reading it once I started it, and then things pivoted, things changed, things happened. So I'm not gonna be reading that one. I'm gonna read something I'm more excited to read. So I'm picking an audiobook and a physical book. That's just how I've been reading lately, as I keep 2 books going, one on audio, one on physical, and sometimes even one on ebook. Sometimes I've got 3 going on nowadays. But for now, I'm gonna have an audio and a physical. I've started my audiobook, so I'll tell you about that. So I have decided to start Natural Beauty by Ling Wang this morning, and I am currently 29% of my way through the story, so I've gotten a really good first impression, and I'm really enjoying this so far. I was pretty sure I would because I've only heard wonderful reviews about it, and I've heard it compared to other books that I've enjoyed, so I felt pretty good that I was going to enjoy this one, which is also why I wanted to pick it. I really wanted to pick something that I could just breeze through and have a good time with this morning, and this is doing that for me so far. You know, I'm realizing as I was getting ready to talk about it that I don't know our main character's name, and then I'm looking at the synopsis and it says our narrator, blah 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 blah. So I'm kind of wondering now if our main character has a name in the story or if they go unnamed. So I'm gonna pay attention to that better from this point forward. It's funny how you can just like not really think about that a lot when you're in your main character's head and you're not worried about what their name is as much as everyone else around them. But anyway, we have our main character, and she is the child of 2 musicians who came from China. They fled from China in the wake of the Cultural Revolution. And so her parents taught her how to play piano, and she plays piano in a very unique way using a little trick that they have. And so she becomes this really high esteemed piano player at this conservatory that she is at. It's the school she goes to. I'm looking at the synopsis on my phone if you're like, what is she doing? She is, I think, 12 or 14 when she gets into this school. And she very quickly becomes well esteemed because of how talented she is at playing the piano. But then her parents end up getting in some kind of terrible accident. And the story is told in dual timelines. So I don't have the full story yet for what happened. You're following her now, our main character now, as she's taking this job at this beauty store called Holistic. And then you get the flashbacks of her talking about when she was at the conservatory playing music and what's been going on with her parents. And then we've just started to see where her parents are now and how they're being taken care of. But essentially, she gives up music, I think, and then is taking this job at Holistic in order to better be able to provide for her parents to be cared for. Holistic is this beauty shop that has these unconventional methods. It's a little bit dystopian in the way that some of the things are being described, like certain technology that they use, but there's also things with like spider silk and slugs or something. Like, it's just a bunch of weird beauty product stuff that they do, but they're very popular. I guess it's kind of like a Goop, if I had to compare to something like Gwyneth Paltrow's brand. And then a character gets introduced named Helen, and Helen is the niece of Holistic's owner, and our main character is gonna start to be interested in her, I believe, and then more sinister things going on at the beauty company will start to be revealed. Beauty horror has been really having a moment. There's been a lot of beauty horror books coming out recently and still yet to come out, so I'm not unfamiliar with the concept, and I have some general ideas into the direction that I think the story is going to go. So for me, reading more beauty horror really hinges on, can they do something unique, and is the writing captivating, because I'm really looking to be pulled into the story. If it's going to be sort of general themes I've already already seen and explored. I want either a really great character voice or some kind of unique twist on the story. And so far I'm really liking the writing of this. The writing style is really just working with me. I like the way it's set up with the flashbacks, so you're kind of piecing together her life story. You're not getting it all revealed to you at once. And I'm having a good time. So that is how Natural Beauty is going. I will keep reading this, get as far as I can today, and give you another update on this before I jump into my physical book. So I'm gonna keep listening to Natural Beauty, and I'll give you another update when I'm further in the story. Okay, so I'm really glad I just prepped you at the beginning of the video that this was gonna be chaos, because it's freaking chaos. I just hit the 50% mark in Natural Beauty. I can give you a quick update on that, but also things just happened. I don't know how much I should tell you because I don't want the other teams knowing where the snack squad is at. You know, I don't want to reveal too much information. I'm trying to keep it close to the chest, but I'm gonna have to pivot. I'm gonna have to start another book. Maybe that'll affect my physical reading plans, because I was planning on starting, I know I told you, like, I'm gonna read an audio and a physical. My physical was going to be Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. I don't know if that's gonna work anymore. I'm gonna have to check. Before I veer too far off course, I'll give a quick 50% update on Natural Beauty. I am really liking this. And the thing about the name, where I was like, oh, is she unnamed? I haven't noticed. That has become a plot point in the story. I don't want to reveal too much about it because it really ties in with the themes of the story. I think it's an interesting plot point that happens in a reveal around names in general. So I won't give too much information away about that, but confirmed she is pretty much unnamed throughout this book. I still like the way the story is unraveling. I'm still so intrigued. I just want to sit and read this and finish it, but this book's not going to work for the prompt I need to be working on right now. And I'm competitive. I want us to win. So I don't want to log this for something later down the road. I want to help right now. So that's going to inform my audiobook plans, probably, maybe my physical plans. I don't know. It depends on what book can achieve what I need. So I'm gonna go over to my bookshelves and we're gonna try to find what I could read next. I might also browse the Libby app, look for some audio options. I will keep reading Natural Beauty as soon as I can because I really like it. But until then, we have to pivot. Okay, updates. Before I jump you to the next book, I did actually end up finishing Natural Beauty. Everything worked out. Everything was fine. It all worked out fine. Here's the thing. I had a weird experience in Natural Beauty. I really thought that I would love this. I thought it was going to be something I really enjoyed. As the book went on, as I got into the second half, as I saw the direction the story was going, and then as I sat on it, I felt like I missed something. I just felt like I missed this magic experience that so many other people have had with this book because it just didn't feel complete to me. And I was listening to it on audio and I did go kind of fast, so I even went to the lengths of rereading the book. I got the ebook from the library and I went through that. I didn't read every word. I skimmed through it, but I read words on every single page of the ebook to get through the story one more time, just to see if I digested it differently by looking at it than I did listening to it. And I didn't. It just confirmed for me the experience I had, which was super strange with the story. I did really like the idea of this. I think what it's doing with using the beauty industry as a conduit to tell the story about assimilation, ethnic cleansing, racial cleansing, like it was very effective in certain portrayals of the concept. As a full book, it felt like something was missing for me. It felt like when you have a nightmare and it feels super random and all these scenes just kind of float together and then you're telling your friend about it and you're like, in my brain, it felt like a complete movie, but when I'm telling you about it, I can tell this sounds really random. That's how the book read for me. And the main character does lose a lot of time and is disoriented through the book. So some of that is definitely intentional, but it just didn't work for me. So I'm giving it a 3-star because I appreciate what it was doing. I liked it in the beginning. It just didn't fully hit for me. So it turned out Just for the Summer did work for what I needed it to work for, and I finished the book. I flew through this one. I didn't even stop to update you. How does she only write 5-star books? I don't understand it. They're all perfect. They're all perfect. And I've only read this series, Part of Your World, Yours Truly, and now Just for the Summer. I need to read her other series. I think she only has one other series, the Friend Zone books, maybe. They're so good. I don't know what she puts in these books, but they're perfect. It reminds me of when I was young and way back in the beginning, like back when Colleen Hoover was still publishing indie, before anyone knew about Colleen Hoover. I mean, people knew about Colleen Hoover, but before she was as big as she was today, and I was young and I was reading those books and eating them up and loving them, and then they did not age well. This reminds me of how I felt reading those books back in the day, where I just loved them so much. They're so good. In this story, you're following two characters who are coming together. They both have this thing that happens to them where they feel like they're cursed, because every time they date someone and then they break up with that person, the person ends up going on to find the love of their life right after. They both think they're cursed. They end up meeting through an online forum about it in a very silly way, and they make an agreement to date each other. They're like, we'll go on a couple dates, we'll break up, and then we'll both find our soulmates. So it'll be just for the summer. But obviously it becomes so much more than that, and it was so good. Her male main characters are so wonderful. The friend in this book describes the male love interest as the definition of if he wanted to, he would, which I know there's also controversy around that statement. People are like, whatever. But if he wanted to, he would, and this man does. He's so good. He's such a good person for her. And the female main character, like most of the female main characters in this series, is deeply flawed, has deep trauma that she has to learn to overcome. So there are a lot of heavier topics in here as well, but it just feels so realistic, and the challenges that are posed for this relationship feel so realistic. When it comes to the point of them having a conflict, it didn't feel pointless like some romances sometimes do, where it's like, oh, that's just a dumb miscommunication because there has to be some conflict before they can have a happily ever after. This was real conflict where I was like, yeah, of course you'd have conflict because that's a difficult situation to be in. So I loved it. I will continue to sing Abby Jimenez's praises. I can't wait to read more from her. This was wonderful. 5 stars. So I'm gonna put a wrap on the reading vlog here because I've gotten through a handful of books now, and I had 2 5 stars in this video, so that's amazing. Luckily, I have thought of a way to maintain less chaos in my next reading vlog for what I'm going to do this month, because I have 3 arcs that I need to get to, so I'm going to read them all and put it in a reading vlog together. I might not be reading them all in order because the way this readathon works, and I have to pivot sometimes, but I will definitely be getting to all 3 of those books in the next week or 2 and vlogging those specifically to give you a reading vlog talking about some new upcoming releases that I'm excited about and give you some early reviews on them. So if you're not already, make sure to subscribe down below so you can stay tuned for that. And again, if you'd like more information about the readathon, that will all be down below as well. But that is it for me. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video. Bye!